Many people would say that the world's sexiest bike is a shiny red Ducati 916, but they're not particularly cheap. There is, however, a slightly cheaper alternative, a shiny red Ducati 748. 748 cc's of V-twin motor, delivering 97 brake horsepowers of grunt. The engine feels quite different from a 916. It's much more revvy, but it's still got tons of low-down power to shoot you out of a corner or catapult you away from a junction at an incredible rate. It doesn't look half bad either, does it? And you know, from just a few feet away, I reckon you'd be hard pushed to tell the difference between this and a 916. And that's because they share the same geometry, they've got the same suspension, and it is actually the same overall dimensions. Now up at the front here, a very neat, very compact dashboard, nothing fancy, with a green rev counter. I don't know why it's green, but well, I suppose it's different. Further back here, steering damper fitted as standard, quite useful, more use on a racetrack. Well, we're talking about racetracks. For people who like messing with the setup of the bike, here we've got the facility to actually alter the steering head angle. Very, very trick. And you may notice a lack of an ignition barrel there. That's where the key would normally go. But on a Ducati, it goes down there at the front of the tank, which is fine if you've only got one or maybe two keys on your key ring. But if you carry your bike key on a bunch of keys and you keep putting it in there and turning it, and this part of the tank really is going to get scratched to hell. And talking of scratching is what the 748 is all about. Ride it through busy traffic where you're stopping every few yards and you'll absolutely hate it. The seat is hard and the foot pegs are high. Bikes like this are not built for comfort. They're built to perform, to compete and to excite. The 748 does all of these things brilliantly. Head for the open road and you'll begin to understand what this bike is all about. Better still, head for the racetrack. That's the only place to fully appreciate the potential of this Italian thoroughbred. You'll find yourself entering corners at speeds which you've only ever dreamt about. So precise and sure-footed is the handling. You'll get massive adrenaline rushes as you twist the throttle and see the front wheel parting company with the tarmac. And if you should get your gear selection slightly wrong as you power out of a corner, the torquey nature of the V-twin allows you to get away with it. Well, it all sounds pretty impressive so far, doesn't it? Until you realise that all of this Italian style doesn't come particularly cheap. Okay, a 748 is cheaper than a 916 or a 996 as it is now. But a standard 748 like this one will still cost you about £9,700 for an official UK one. I believe you can get an import for about £8,200, so it's quite a saving there. But if you want the 748 SPS, that's the one with all the fancy suspension and the tricky bits and pieces on it, that'll cost you about another £2,500 on top of that. And when you think of its Japanese rivals, even the big twins like Honda's Firestorm, less than £7,000, Suzuki's TL1000R, perhaps £7,000 and a bit on the road, it does start to look a little bit dear. Even second-hand examples like, say, an early 748 from about 1995 in a dealer's would still fetch the best part of £6,000. But let's look on the positive side. What do you get for your money? Well, you get this fantastic, sexy-looking piece of Italian exotica. Instantly recognisable. Single-sided swinging arm, very, very trendy these days. The much copied exhaust exiting under the tailpiece, and of course the unmistakable, gorgeous Ducati shape. It's well respected by everyone, and it does its job superbly well. You've probably gathered that I personally love the 748. It's not designed for everyone. If you need a bike to take you to work and back, maybe carry a pillion, or to cover long distances, then forget it. An all-rounder, this bike definitely is not. It's not a particularly easy bike to ride well. It's perhaps not quite as forgiving in the handling department as some of the big four-cylinder sports bikes. It's challenging, it's involving, and once you get to grips with it, it's one of the most exciting bikes you could ever have the pleasure to ride.